You shouldn't, is right.
We will call the City of Hayes Commission meeting at 4 o'clock on January 26th to order.
Seems early.
It is. All commissioners are present. Elena is present by phone and spirit. First item on the order of business is the approval of the minutes of January 12th, 2023. We
No
have a
changes.
motion in a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Elena, you can say aye now.
Hi.
5-0.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself.
There we go.
All right. Citizen comments for non-agenda items. No? Then we'll
He's
move on.
jumping right out.
Move on to the consent agenda. Just a few housekeeping items to take care of.
Move approval of consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion in a second. Any further discussion? Not, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Hi.
Passes 5-0. Grow Hayes update. Doug Williams. The man, the myth, the legend.
There it is. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Doug Williams with Grow Hayes, Executive Director of Grow Hayes. Appreciate you allowing me to come and give you a little update today. I noticed that you put me in the agenda first with Crispin behind me. I think that's just to make him look good. But, he doesn't need the help, believe me. But we do appreciate you allowing us to come and give you an update on kind of what happened in 2022 and then kind of where we think things are heading in 2023 and to share what we feel is some pretty exciting news with you. Want to go over some new employees, our microfactory project, some other projects we've got going, and then talk about housing and looking forward to 2023. First, any presentation I give that doesn't have the pyramid in it would not be complete. But I put that up there because I think we did a great job in dealing with the two base items on that pyramid in 2022. We passed a school bond, which was huge. We made some good strides in housing. We'll talk about that a little bit further, but I think if we look at that pyramid and recognize that that's kind of the foundation of what we're trying to do, we made some good progress in 2022. From our perspective, thanks to the investment from the City of Hayes, from Ellis County, and our private investors, we were able to add two new people. David Klingen came on in January as Director of Recruitment and Retainment, and James Robin came on in June as Director of Business Creation, I call it. He has on his card Business Development, so obviously I didn't know what I was talking about. Well, we like long titles and special projects. And then, of course, we've had Ernie. She knows where all the bodies are buried, so we can't get rid of her. But the big project for us in 2022, or one of them, the biggest one, was the microfactory. As you're all aware of, I've been before you before on talking about the Grow Hayes microfactory. This is a 30,000 square foot manufacturing facility. It's an incubator for startups and expansions of small manufacturers. We received a base grant for $2.6 million for construction. We received a Patterson Family Foundation grant for $500,000. Heart of America donated a lot, valued at $275,000. The Economic Innovation Center has agreed to loan us $750,000 interest-free for 10 years. This is a division of Hanson. And then you all, thank you, passed a resolution to issue IRBs for us, which allows us to avoid the sales tax on the construction materials as well as a 10-year tax abatement, both of which are huge, allowing us to pass that on to the tenants who, at the end of the day, that's who we're trying to take care of in this, so they can be in there for less rent, grow their business, and then grow out of it so we can bring the next one in. So a great project. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank David Klingen. We wouldn't have the microfactory if it wasn't for David, and we wouldn't have David if it wasn't for you and the county and our private investors. So a real community effort on getting that done, and a great project. All those numbers I just rang up, they total about $3.8 million, and it's going to come as some surprise to you, but our costs have gone from $3.6 million to about $4.3. So we're still out looking for money, but that seems to be the nature of the beast. I know you all have dealt with a little bit of that with your fire station and some projects that the city does. it's the environment we live in. Our partnership with Network Kansas, we had an active year. We did a youth entrepreneurship challenge last spring. We did an Ice House Think Like an Entrepreneur class this summer. We held quarterly luncheons 4 times. That's what you do when you hold quarterly luncheons. So one thing that many people don't understand is we also make loans to small businesses. We made 6 loans to new businesses in 2022, totaling just under $200,000 to these businesses. Because of a program that Network Kansas has with the Patterson Foundation, those businesses also got, not only did they get the loan, but they got a portion of that loan granted back to them. So in several cases, we handed them a check for $45,000, but they signed a note for $36,000. So a pretty good deal and pretty impactful for those small businesses. Currently, we manage 23 loans totaling just under $500,000 in total loan amount. And we've got more demand than we can meet right at the moment. We've got another one that's going to close next week on a downtown business. And we've got several other who are in the loop asking us for money. We only have so much allocated to us, so we have to wait until the 4th quarter of Network Kansas's fiscal year, which is the spring, summer timeframe. At that point, if they haven't used it all up in other communities, they'll kick some loose for us. But it's an important program for us and important for small businesses. Our Imagine Ellis County group continues to be active. We received another $50,000 grant from the Schmidt Foundation in November. We have, to date, we produced 6 quality of life videos showing why Ellis County is a great place to live. We've the Docking Institute conducted a countywide quality of life survey. It's out on our website. If you haven't seen it, go out and take a look. We continue to do a marketing campaign on the eastern slope of Colorado using technologies that I don't understand, geofencing and things like that, but basically trying to get people to go to our particular website or our particular videos and see what we have to offer. We believe that's fertile ground, that people have had enough of the cost and the hustle bustle and the traffic and the crime and everything that comes with city living in some places. And we think we've got a good story to tell with lots of jobs and a great place to live.
So Doug, when you say Eastern Slope, is that from Denver on? Is that kind of
Colorado Springs, Denver, Fort Collins, Loveland, whole bunch of people in that area.
I can't believe that you live in, Western Kansas post-rock country. You don't know what geofencing is.
I know what barbed wire fencing is. I don't know what geofencing is.
I'm kind of with Doug there. I'm learning.
Business activity in 2022 was robust. 17 new businesses or acquisitions occurred in the community. There's 5 more that are in the process, and we'll see opening up in the next 60 to 90 days, first quarter of this year. We have retail developers who are actively looking at our community. A couple of big box retailers. Whether anything comes of that, we don't know. That's always a challenge to try and get those people to do something. And it's more challenging now than it's ever been based on cost of construction and what some of these large retailers are willing to pay for rent. There's this gap that they look to try and make up, and you've got to be pretty creative to try and make up that gap. But we have lookers, and we have a developer looking at a star bond for Hayes too. So some positive things on the horizon here, and I think we'll start the year off real fast, I believe. Then we come to housing, and I think we've got a great story to tell last year in housing. The Heart of America Tallgrass Edition, Phase 1, we completed the infrastructure in the fall of 2021. That's about 14 months ago. To date, all 36 lots in Phase 1 are sold. 19 homes are occupied out there. 17 are under construction. Of those 17, 5 are going to be done in about 30 to 60 days. The rest of them are either slabs or foundations at this point in time, waiting on framers, waiting on plumbers, waiting on electricians, the whole situation. And I say a very challenging building environment, and it absolutely is. I take my hat off to those builders who have been able to make it happen. And also with the help of the city, Toby, Colin, John, Curtis, Kate. I know I'm leaving some people out, but not Jeff because I left him out on purpose. But it really is a team effort. You all in 2020 passed an RHID. Heart of America was willing to invest $1.5 million in infrastructure, not knowing when or if they would get that back. The good news is we put the infrastructure in place. The tax increment is going to be in place, and they're going to get their money back, which allows them to go to their next phase, which is 18 lots, and it's almost done. Finishing up the street right now, and then some utility work has to be done, but certainly this spring we should see some construction in that phase. And the two builders that have been the most active in phase 1 have already purchased 9 lots each in phase 2 and plan to continue building them as fast as they can. So we are making a change in the sales price. Phase 1, the maximum sales price was $225,000. The cost per lot in phase 2 was $7,000 more per lot to put in the infrastructure than it was in phase 1. So Heart of America had no choice but to raise their price from $10,000 a lot, which is a tremendous bargain, to $15,000. They're still eating $2,000 of that increase. And then we've given the builders a little bit of leeway on some of the cost increases they've had, so that the sales price, maximum sales price in phase 2 will be $235,000. So still a bargain by any stretch of the imagination, particularly when they don't have any special assessments on those homes.
Doug, I think that we all need to just step back a minute and let this sink in. This is huge. When you think that this has happened in this community in the last 15 months, basically, what has happened out in that development, I think your foresight, the foresight of Heart of America Corporation, all the work the city has done, everybody should be patting themselves on the back and moving forward. This is, and only taking that next section, I expected you to say they're going to go up to $250,000 in that next section. So hearing 235 is even more inspiring to me that it can be happening like that. Look how many has happened in 15 months, guys. I mean, this is crazy. We didn't have anything like this for a long time. I just like to sit and smile and congratulate you as well as everybody else that's involved, because that's a big deal.
Well, by any measure, it's been a successful project so far. A little demographic information about who's buying these homes. There were 13 first-time home buyers, 10 downsizers and upsizers locally, so that means another 10 homes sold on the market or will be on the market. So you had the 36 homes that hit the market that are out there, but also the 10 that are created because of people moving into them. So that's a total of 46, and that's an important statistic. 11 new people to Hayes, and 2 were bought by investors who are renting them out.
One more question.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've ever asked you this. I don't think I have. If once these properties are complete at $225,000, is there anything that stops that buyer, that new homeowner, from expanding on their properties? Can they add on, put additions on? They can do whatever they want.
They can do whatever they want.
Okay.
It's their house, and they can do whatever we want.
What I wanna do.
We looked early on as to what we thought we wanted to try and control, and we can only control what we can control,
Right.
and so we just kind of drew the line. Our goal was to get housing out there, and
Absolutely.
that's what's happened. And so even with investors, our initial thoughts were not that an investor would buy any of these, that they would be all homeowners. It hasn't been the case in a couple, but it still provides housing for people who are
Absolutely.
needing housing, and so we're okay with that.
Well, and what you show there is exactly what we all wanted. We wanted people moving into Hayes, opening up other houses, and that's what's happening. So I agree with you, Sandy. Kudos to you and everybody that's been involved in this. And you know, I talk with one of the builders out there quite often, and he says it's been huge, and it's been, you know, everything's worked, you know, like it should. So good job on this. This
Thank
is
you.
huge for Hayes and for the future.
That gives you a little graphic. The green and the pink ones are the ones that are going to be done pretty soon. The yellow ones are the ones that are just foundations or slabs. And then the blue is the next phase. We're also looking at expanding onto Wheatland Drive with additional development there, hoping to start in the spring on that if we can get our ducks in a row and costs in line. I thought this was an interesting, a couple of years ago, 3 years ago actually, I shared this email I got from a guy in Topeka. Wayne Bolig's his name. I don't think he'd care if I mentioned his name. And he sent this email that he was wanting to get back to Hayes because his kids are here and they lived in Topeka and they wanted to come back, but they couldn't find any housing. They moved into their house 2 months ago in Tallgrass. So I think that tells the story as to what that development has been and what it can be to others as well.
That's what we criers cry about, Sean. That's what.
No tears today.
Right.
All that being said, and while we pat ourselves on the back, it's not enough. You know, we are not doing enough. And I think we need to be cognizant of that. If we look at these statistics, which were shared by the inspection department, last year we had 39 single-family residences. I think Curtis told me 27 of them were in Tallgrass, 26 or 27. 2 duplexes and the Frontier Apartments, 12-plex, so for a total of 55 units. If you recall our housing study, it said that if we anticipate 1% growth, we need between, depending on which one you want to look at, and something, 85 to 100 units per year to sustain that level of growth. So we're halfway there. And some of you may remember a story that I wrote in the Hayes Post here a while back, was that we have to grow to stay the same. And the premise of that was that our trade area is shrinking, and this isn't more important in the city of Hayes than anybody because of the sales tax piece. We depend on sales tax to fund a large part of the city of Hayes' budget. A large part of that comes from our outlying area, our trade area, and as that continues to shrink, which it is, and I'm not sure we can do much about that, we have to grow ourselves. And the only way we do that is to put enough housing in place. And you're going to get as tired of hearing this line as you are the pyramid, but you know, and I've said it 100 times, I'm going to continue. We can't guarantee that we're going to have 1% growth, but I believe I can guarantee that if we don't build sufficient housing, we will not have 1% growth because we won't put ourselves in a position to have it. So as much as we accomplished last year, we still have a lot more work to do if we think we're going to get to a point where we can handle and sustain anything close to 1% growth, because we've also got a backlog that we haven't dealt with. If you look at that, the last, however far back that goes to 2014, we've not hit that 85 to 95 units or even close to it in a long, long time. And so we've dug a hole we've got to dig out, and we've managed to pick the absolute worst time in the history of mankind to increase, to build stuff. You know, costs are high, and it's hard to find people to do it and that kind of thing, but that doesn't matter. We just have to figure out how we overcome. And that brings me to our announcement today. I'm excited to announce a new project called The Grove. You've heard me talk about this before different times, but it's becoming a reality. It's a 100-plus unit project, residential project, north of Hayes Medical Center. It'll consist of patio homes, duplex townhouses, and multifamily units, as well as a community center. It'll look something like this. If you get your bearings there, at the bottom of the picture is the Hayes Medical Center and the Center for Health Improvement. And at the very top is the corner of 27th and Canterbury. At the corner will be multifamily units, 4-plex, 8-plex type units. On that main entry in off of 27th Street there'll be duplexes. There'll be townhouse type ownership. You can own them, or you can, they'll be rented out, whatever the case may be, whatever somebody wants to do. And then the balance of it will be patio homes. It will definitely have a retiree friendly feel, that we're going to build them retiree friendly. It will not be exclusively available to retirees. We've talked about that in the past, and that presents some challenges that we just don't want to really deal with, but it will definitely be retiree friendly. And of course, the community center, what we envision is a 14,000 square foot facility, which will house a 77 child care facility, as well as a spot for the senior center. I have with me here today Guy Winholtz and Ray Makings. They're both with the senior center. Ray's the director and Guy's the president of the senior center. And I believe they would be excited to move into a structure like that. And then there would be some rooms just for basic general use by the community at large. We get calls at Brief Space all the time for people wanting to use it for personal use. We try and restrict it to business use. We've had the challenge with people wanting to do graduation parties and showers and that type of thing. We're really not geared up for that, but some of these rooms could be used for that purpose. So it's an ambitious project. 14,000 square feet costs a lot of money. It's going to take the city, the county, the foundations, the private sector, all to make this happen. But we feel like it's too important not to happen. And so that's what we've got going. I think it's an exciting project. We've entered into an agreement with PwC. They have agreed to construct the homes out there and construct the community center. They've agreed to put some spec homes up to get the thing started and to allocate the resource necessary to make it happen, which is no small factor in the environment and the building environment we have now. So we think we've got the pieces in place to make this happen. Obviously, I'm going to be back in front of you all asking for support, as I am going to be at the county, and I am going to be, we're going to be looking for grants and any other way, anything we can beg, borrow, or steal to try and get this thing done. But I think we've got a great plan, a great spot. Hayes Medical Center is donating the land for the community center. We're purchasing the balance of the land from them on very favorable terms that make us able to do this project. But they are donating the land for the community center, which we put a rough value of about $250,000 on. So I've talked enough. Probably I'd answer any questions that you might have.
As usual, Doug, this is really impressive. I do want to make some comments on the Grove on the end. I've had the opportunity to work relatively closely with Doug as we were thinking towards this, because one of the things when I ran to be a city commissioner that I was very concerned about was being sure that we were respectful and taking care of our aging population. The senior center has been top of all of our minds, not just mine, but all of our minds, and how it can be different and better. This community center is going to be near and dear to my heart as a commissioner and as a citizen. Not only are we going to be taking care of the aging population that we're talking about, it's going to have daycare, one of our most serious things we've got to deal with right now. I look at Sarah in the back, and you've got to be smiling, knowing there's more coming. I am going to stick my neck out, Doug, and if you're going to ask for more than this, you'll have to figure that out. But I hope we have a conversation in the very near future that the city can make $1 million commitment to this project.
That would be a wonderful start.
I love the idea of the senior center. I have a dad that he lives to go to the senior center. I mean, that's something that's his life, and I realize how important it is to seniors. And like you said, we need to take care of them. I love the community center. I'll be honest, I have my doubts on the housing. I think it might be a little high. I mean, for what we're trying to achieve. But if you can prove to me that you can build them and fill them,
Build them and they will come.
I hope you're right. I struggle for that price range, what I assume it will be. But you've proved me wrong a lot of times. And, what I tell people all the time, and I'm probably your biggest advocate, Doug, is your Grow Hayes podcast. I think is the best thing that we do in our community. You don't pull punches. You're blunt. When something's not working, you say it's not working, and you say it is working. You say why it's working, and I think that's huge. And we need people like you, and we need to get more people like you involved to continue what we're doing. But I think it's great. I hope we can do it. I love the community center, the housing. I say go for it, but it makes me nervous. I'm be honest, but
You're not nervous about the community center?
no.
Oh, yes.
No, not at all. No.
We'll make a leader out of you, Sean.
I said let's do it.
Yeah, I think as you're pointing out, it's great to see the new housing going up, but like you said, historically, we've got a lot more to go, and we've seen a lot of plans that are going to be popping up here in the near future, and we just need to see them all start showing up, because I think we'll hit that 85 to 100 if all the projects that we've been seeing in front of us start actually coming to fruition. So I'm looking forward. Do you have a time frame of sort of where you hope to have the housing?
We would like to build the community center first, but that has to have infrastructure to it and streets and that type of thing. And so our rough time frame, and it's probably aggressive, it usually is, but would be to have annexation, platting, and zoning done in the first 3 or 4 months of this year, and then go out for bids on some street work and that type of thing, and start on that late summer, early fall. And that's probably a 6-month project just to get that stuff done. So
I just want to know how big, soon there's going to be a big boost in grandparent memberships at the Sternberg.
in anticipation, I'm sure it'll be the 4th quarter of this year, Reese.
Excellent.
And this kind of goes along with, Toby asked you last week, we need to figure out, that's going to add more traffic, hopefully, to that street. We got a new school going out there, so, and I know we always do a great job of planning ahead, but this is all going to happen within the next, hopefully, 4 to 5 years, and I just hope we can stay ahead of it, and I'm assuming we will.
Yeah, we'll definitely take into account the traffic impact that this would create and the times it would create different traffic. And we're going to bring back your request to look at the possible lane diet on Canterbury and then the configuration at 27th, and we'll incorporate that into this as well.
Good problem to have.
I think Commissioner Barrick makes a really great point about how much housing we need, and that's another thing that I hope people are really hearing about the Grove. This is not just single-family residences. This is going to have condominiums, it's going to have duplexes. Hopefully, it's going to cover the gamut, whoever needs. And we need a ton more, as you say. Maybe they're all in the apartment, I don't know. But this is going to serve a lot of it.
Doug, you, Dave, James, Ernie, you have a really good crew. We wouldn't invest in you if we didn't believe in what you guys are doing. And the community that supports you guys, too, is amazing. This popped up because of how much collaboration between so many different players. It's incredible to see the community working together, tackling the needs that we need. And it's awesome to see it happen as not just hey, we need housing, or hey, we need a community center. It's let's get it all done once. Let's do it, and let's do it right. Let's go big. Let's get it taken care of. So I appreciate everybody coming together and getting this done. All the things you guys are working on is extremely exciting. You wouldn't think coming out of a pandemic everyone would be like, hey, let's build a whole bunch of stuff, let's bring in everything, but you guys are like, you know what, pandemic, whatever, let's get it done. And I appreciate that, because if we're not hitting that 1%, we're going to die, and you're grow haze, not die haze.
Let's keep it that way.
Let's keep it that
Hold
way.
on, Mr. Mayor. Elena, got anything you want to say? I don't want to forget that you're here.
Yes, no, I was just going to add, kind of echoes Mason, that I like that the project touches on multiple areas as far as, our growing aging community, along with the child care issue and then the housing. It just sounds like a great project. So great work.
Thank you. Thank you. We couldn't do it without you all, and then the support of the other public entities. And, with the RHID, it took you all to defer your taxes. It took the county to defer their taxes. It took the school district. So everybody makes a sacrifice, but that's what it takes to make some of these things happen. And I think one thing two items I'll say, and then I'll get the heck out of here. One is more so than the tall grass addition, I believe you'll see people moving out of existing homes in Hayes and into this type of home, because it's targeted at an audience that has no place to go right now. There is not aging appropriate housing available in this community right now. So I think you'll see more people migrate out of existing home, which brings existing homes onto the market. The other thing, I've had some conversations with existing landlords, and obviously they have concerns when you start talking about more apartments and vacancy rates going up. And the question always becomes, well, where are all these people going to come from? And I had a discussion this morning with a landlord, and we both kind of agreed. He said, they're already here. They're just in inappropriate housing to meet their needs. They're either that's the only thing they could find, or it's the only thing that they could afford, or whatever. And unfortunately, we have a situation here where we have not built the right kind of housing to allow people choices. And some of these kind of projects is what we have to do to allow that to happen.
Doug, one other thing I looked for, quickly last night when I thought about it, and I know you can put your finger on it next time you're in front of us, if you could bring that data that you put together in one of the studies that was done that showed the economic impact of senior citizens in our community. Sure. That is a huge number, and I think we need to keep that out in the forefront as we move forward with all of this. So if you could bring that back, I'd appreciate it.
I will do when I come back to ask for some more money.
Yes, sir. Thank you. That'd be a good idea.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you, guys. All right. 55th and 58th Street Utilities Award of Bid.
Now the excitement starts.
Professor Crispin.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Jeff Crispin, Director of Water Resources. And I have to say, it's always tough to follow Doug. Great job, Grow Hayes. As I was sitting here listening to his presentation, I was thinking that this is somewhat growth related. I'm okay following him today. But we'll get going here. Bids for the construction of sanitary sewer and water main improvements along 55th Street, 58th Street, and east of 230th Avenue were opened on December 20th of last year. The improvements are related to a January 2022 agreement between the City of Hayes and BBJ LLC, also known as Kenneth Doonan with Doonan Truck, whereas BBJ agreed to pay 50% of the cost to construct sanitary sewer in this project. This visual shows the general area located north and west of the main part of the City of Hayes. Specifically, this is north of I-70 at exit 157, and it's right kind of in between Doonan Truck and Celebration Community Church. This visual was located in your packets, gives a little bit more information, discusses the tracks related to this project. It shows the extensions of water and sewer on 55th and 58th. I further zoomed in on those for these next couple slides. This is 55th Street portion. It's extending water main and sewer main to the east. That would be the dark blue line up top of north of 55th. That's 900 feet of 10-inch water main. And then below that, that's 850 feet of 8-inch water main. And one thing, and in light green, and one thing I'll point out is in a couple spots there, those dots basically show taps that would be installed for future use, future connections. This is a closer view of 58th Street. Portion of this project, that's 865 feet of 2-inch water service line in dark blue running along 58th Street off of 230th. It's related to serving customers up in that area to the east of Celebration Community Church. During the earlier project, if you recall, when they reconstructed 55th Street and 230th Avenue, the city started serving customers that were on rural water district lines in that area. So during that project, basically, we started serving our water through rural water district lines that they gave to the city, or we took over basically. And this will actually get rid of all that infrastructure, or not abandon that infrastructure and go with a new line. Customers serve up to the north with this specific line would be the Sportsman's Club, Hayes City Police Department, shooting range, and then Randy Davis. There's a residence that's just east of Celebration Community Church. And what I would mention too is within this project, we are already serving Celebration Community Church, and then we are also already serving Doonan Truck and Equipment. So there's a total of 5 customers up there. As I stated in my first slide, and as a reminder, in January of last year, we entered into an agreement with BBJ LLC regarding the provisions for water and sewer service and eventual annexation of the Doonan Peterbilt property and other tracts of land which were showed in that one visual, the four total tracts, at the northeast corner of I-70 and exit 157. That signed agreement was within your packets and was signed by all parties. The terms of that agreement included the developer, BBJ LLC, to pay half the cost of constructing an 8-inch sewer main extension along that 55th Street, and the city would agree to pay the other half of sanitary sewer. We would pay 100% of the water main on 55th, and then 100% of the water service along 58th Street. As a result of that agreement, the city hired Driggs Design Group to design, engineer, and prepare bid documents for the utility extensions in that area. I do want to note that the city is responsible for the cost-related design, engineering, and inspection services that would be funded from water and sewer capital. As I mentioned, project was put out to bid actually in November. We opened those December 20th. Initially, we had 5 that pulled the plans that were interested in the project, but we only had 2 that submitted bids for it. All bids were reviewed by city staff and the project engineer, Driggs Design Group. And the low bid from Hess Services in the amount of $441,376.79 had been determined to be a valid low bid. Although, over the engineer's estimate of $357,705, both the engineer and city staff recommended awarding the contract to the low bidder. And one of the things I mentioned at the work session is volatility in the market has been pretty crazy as far as cost of pipe per linear foot. And so we see that going just about the same as with gas prices. So it's kind of gone up and down pretty quickly. A recommendation letter from Buck Driggs, which contains the detailed the tabulation of bids, was in your packet. Also, if awarded tonight, construction would begin in March of this year, and it would take 75 working days. Obviously, also, if anything went past 75 days, there's liquidated damages that would be included. Inspection of that project would be Driggs Design Group. So I have, instead of 2, I have 3 financial slides for you this week. The low bid of 404, and I have these highlighted in yellow, the ones I'm talking about right now, and that's the construction. The low bid of 441's 376.79. There at the bottom came from Hess Services with the cost of the sanitary sewer up top, $303,268.55, and then the water being $138,108.24 for that total. And this project would be funded out of water and sewer capital, respectively. As I mentioned with the agreement, BBJ LLC will reimburse the city for half the portion of the construction of the sewer, which actually comes to $157,580, which is on the far right in blue. BBJ LLC will reimburse us for that portion, and as I mentioned last week, the finance director is already in possession of that check, and it's in the vault ready to go for the end of this project. The costs associated with these improvements were not included in our 2023 budget due to timing, but water and sewer capital have adequate funds, and I will show you that here in the next slide. Water capital share of the cost estimated to be $147,052.24. Sewer capital estimated to be $315,159.55. And again, as I mentioned, we would be reimbursed for $157,000 of that sewer cost. This is a slide that was added since last week, Commissioner Jacobs, and this shows the projected cash, starting projected cash after projects are done for 2023, and then adding or subtracting out these 2 projects, and then we would have adequate funds available. And obviously, if there's further questions that I may not answer, Kim always can step in and assist me
Appreciate
with
that. Thank you.
So tonight, you have 3 options. Award the low bid to Hess Services, reject the bids, or provide alternative direction to us. And this is the action I would request, and I would stand for your questions.
Make a motion, we authorize city manager to enter a contract with Hess Services, Inc. in the amount of $441,376.79 for the construction of sanitary sewer and water improvements along 55th Street and 58th Street, funded $138,108.24 from water capital and $303,268.55 from sewer capital.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any additional questions, comments for Jeff?
Good information.
Then I will call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Jeff.
Jeff.
All right. Nuisance and inoperable vehicle abatement for 603 East 7th Street and abutting vacant lot along East 8th Street. Curtis.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Curtis Dinas, Planning and Development Superintendent, standing in for Jesse. As you know from last week, a little background on 603 East 7th and the abutting vacant lot along East Street. Staff has made many attempts to work with the property owner to clean up the property. While there is some progress, including today, somebody's out there moving some things around, trying to make improvements on the property. It has not been enough to satisfy the intent of the city ordinance. Today, here are a few pictures showing that there are a little bit of progress and tracks that you can see in the snow that vehicles have been moved. 1 or 2 vehicles have moved. I can't guarantee that they're still not on the property somewhere, but it appears they have moved, more than likely gone from this part of the property. Here in January, we'll kind of go back in time a little bit of how it looked, so not much progress from there. And then this is back in June when we originally, well, the second time we met with the property owner.
So Curtis, I have a question. I didn't ask this last week. I understand inoperable vehicles, but all the debris, I guess is a good word, other than saying what I want to say.
Debris is good.
Is that what we will clean up if we have to clean it up?
We'll clean everything from the property. So the vehicles.
But I mean, I guess, let me rephrase that. That's what we consider a nuisance. the way
Correct.
that is.
Yeah, the nuisance items, it's general trash and things that are
That's-
debris that are left for, I mean, and this is, I think, what Arden, the owner, said was brought in by someone. And so all that will be gone if we abate it.
And the inoperable part is just essentially, if the vehicle can run, it's just not tagged and registered.
Yeah, our most common violation for being operable is not being legally tagged. So that's the most common one. But if you have tires that are not aired up and it's on blocks and it's not running and it's been sitting there, then, and it's obvious many of these vehicles have been there for years, that they're inoperable.
In our ordinance, even though it's behind the fence, that's still not okay in our ordinance. If it's behind the fence and it's inoperable.
I'll get into a little bit of history as well.
Okay,
Part of
go
that
ahead.
is that with the amount that it's kind of spewed out, and then once things are visible, then that's when it really starts to be more and more of a violation to take
And
care of.
Curtis, let me jump in just real quickly. So technically, if you had an inoperable vehicle parked in your backyard, you would be in violation of the ordinance. Now, are we going to bother you for that? Probably not. You know, if the rest of your property's kept clean and we probably wouldn't know, as would your neighbors. But when you reach a critical mass, it just becomes an issue then, and that's when we typically get involved. You have seen instances where the city commission has taken action on one inoperable vehicle. Usually it's in a very visible location, or it's in a rental property, and the property owner doesn't own the vehicle, and it was a renter, and they've had to call the city and say, can you address this? Because there's state statutes that deal with inoperable vehicles.
But question, there's a large number of inoperable vehicles. What would the city do with them? Where would they go?
So typically, we would hire a contractor, typically like a towing company that has a salvage yard. We would work with them, and they would come remove the vehicles from the property. And so then the owner, if they so choose to get the vehicles, they would have to deal with the salvage yard to come get them. It would be our hope that they don't just bring them back, so we would have to cite them again. But they would have to pay for the towing fees and all the fees associated with storage and things of that nature to get their property back within an allotted time.
Curtis says we know the owner appeared last week at the work session. Has anything been done between last week and this week?
Yes, there has been a little.
Significantly?
Significantly, no. But I would say 2 or 3 vehicles have moved, and maybe a couple moved from the property. As I went by there this afternoon, it still had a majority of everything there.
Okay, thank you.
We did bring up a few more slides that kind of shows the history of the past cases of the Koblers, starting back in 1999. Again, the highlights in yellow is basically this property or the 2 properties in question, most of them being the vehicles, weeds, and junk. And that brings a total of 118 cases that staff has had to deal with since 1999. And that also included in 2008 or so when we abated the property and removed a large number of vehicles at that time.
Curtis, on a lot of those cases, is it residents driving by and seeing it and turning it in, or is it strictly all you guys driving by and seeing it?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, we'll get questions from time to time. How is he allowed to just let things sit there? I mean, if he's not an operating business, you just look at it, and again, we'll get a call. There's varmints. There's this, and so on. So, but also staff, we have to make that determination sometimes of when is enough, and we have to step in to do that.
And I'm okay with that. I mean, that's how we look at our community and how we expect our community to look. Even if the neighbor isn't complaining, we have an understanding of how it should look.
That's what we expect our community.
That's right.
And I've known Arden Kobler for many years, and we've had several conversations about the property at different times, even not during a process or at another property that he has. So he's well aware of the conditions of its properties. He just hasn't been able to take care of them as good as it could. So here's a little few visuals of the timing. So on the top left, or on the left, you have 2011 when, again, if things are kept up and there's not much there, we're really not going to have an issue. On the right, 2013, things started coming back. 2016, a larger number. And then again, this last year in August is when you can see it just continued. So, as you know, options for you today is to approve the resolution that's provided to you, allowing the nuisance items and all inoperable properties to be abated. Do not approve the resolution or provide staff another direction. This is the action requested.
I move
Any
we
questions?
approve resolution number 2023-002 to abate the nuisance items and all inoperable vehicles located on the property at 603 7th Street and abutting vacant lot along East 8th Street 10 days after the approval date.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional questions, comments for Curtis?
I just appreciate somebody used the word varmint in their discussion of the city, so thank you for that.
Of course you do. Of course you do. Of course you do.
No other comments or questions? I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, passes 5-0. Thank you, Curtis. All right, Westbrook Edition request for alley vacate. Curtis.
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. Curtis Dinas, Planning and Development Superintendent. The Westbrook Edition request for alley vacate. The original plat was done in 1976. The property has never developed. It is in a difficult spot, being in the right off the what is the new floodplain as well. The alley has never been improved, as it's just grass. It does have a utility easement just to the west of it, so that more utilities are there. And it does lack the full minimum width that an alley would need to be. Here's a visual of where this is located, just north of 27th Street on the east side of 27th. The red line there indicates the location of the 10-foot alley that is basically abutting the rear property lines of 3 properties. We do have spoke to the other 2 property owners that are not on the request, and they have provided us documentation of their approval as well. Again, here's a visual of that alley that starts at the north side. It goes all the way up to Smoky Hill Addition, along the back side down to the south to 27th Street. This is a practice that does happen from time to time on those odd situations, that it's not used and could be benefited by someone else, and this is kind of that situation here. So with options today, approve the ordinance vacating the platted alley, do not approve the ordinance, or provide staff another direction. And this would be the action requested if you do not have any questions.
I move we approve ordinance number 4023, authorizing the vacation of the 10-foot wide plotted alley located along the west side of the Westbrook addition to the city of Hayes, Ellis County, Kansas.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Passes 5-0. Thank you, Curtis. Progress report.
He's back.
He's back.
Best time of the month, right? So for the latest progress report, stormwater crews performed work in a drainage ditch along General Custer, south of Highway 40. 30 yards of sediment was removed and 10 yards of concrete was placed around culverts. Service Division crews installed new guardrails along the sidewalk adjacent to Van Doren Pond on both the north and south side. This would be a picture of the north side. Service Division staff to replace concrete after water leak was repaired by water resource staff. Firefighter Brandon Zimmerman and firefighter Travis, should have asked for this, how to pronounce this last name, Johannes, attended the 3-day Intermediate Incident Command System. This is a required course for all fire department members who have completed the Officer Development Program. Park staff have constructed a bison shelter in the south central portion of the pasture. This location should provide improved viewing opportunities for the public and will provide the bison with shade during the hot summer months. Salvaged telephone poles, steel siding, and roofing materials were used to complete the construction. And here's a before and after photo. Park staff have been transplanting cedar trees to complete the shelter belt along the complex's west side at Bickelschmidt Sports Complex. 52 trees have been moved to this location since December, and 46 of them were taken from property owned by, he donated them, shouldn't say taken, were donated by. I don't write the notes, I just. 46 were donated by Mr. Ken Vagey. Sunrise Rotary Club donated $6,900 for improvements to the Iki Park ball field. The project is underway and will include a new backstop, bases, a new bench, and red infield dirt. And the dirt is being salvaged or used from when we did the artificial turf replacement at the sports complex.
Nice.
Fort Hays State University's applied technology class poured additional concrete for the storytime area in Seven Hills Park, and the colored cylinders are for seating. In IT, we will be upgrading our aerial GIS photography. So the Ellis County Appraiser's Office did release an RFP to update the aerial GIS photography for the entire county at 6-inch resolution. And at the request of city staff, we requested the RFP also include a buy-up option for 3-inch. As you can kind of see here in the picture here, that is 12-inch visibility, and then the 3-inch is what the buy-up would be. And we were able to get this buy-up for $7,000, where if we were to do this on our own, it would have been about $25,000 to $30,000. Cool. So we greatly appreciate working with Ellis County to have that opportunity. Corporal Stephen Gildemeister read to children at the Hayes Public Library. And Officer Aaron Eskrit met with Jobs for America's Graduate, or JAG, class at Hayes High School on January 16th. Discussing her background in the law enforcement profession. Department of Water Resources, Wally was at the Fort Hays State mascot game. Had a good time with all. Water Resources maintenance workers also excavated a broken meter pit at 45th and Vine. And then we greatly appreciate these employees. This was a water leak on Christmas Day at 17th and Marshall, and they were out there for approximately 6 hours. Water Resources maintenance staff replaced valves as part of it actually was something that occurred after the break on Christmas Day that they had to go back and replace valves for. And the staff did find that the valves date all the way back to 1953. So it's nice to see those updated. On January 4th and January 12th, Melissa Dixon at CVV led a customer service training for front desk staff at the Avid and the Hilton Garden Inn hotels. This was done in order to familiarize hotel staff with the variety of amenities in Hayes.
So she gives free training to new employees? Is that what that means?
Hotels only.
On January 17th, CVB staff did assist with registration for over 220 participants at the Kansas Association of Agricultural Educators Symposium. And of course, Mayor Reuter welcomed the group at the opening. The reconstruction of South Vine Street was substantially complete on January 20th, 2023. And there's just a few little things that need to be finished. The project took 177 working days, of which liquidated damages were charged on 59 days. And that's it. Any questions?
Thank you.
Nice progress.
Good progress.
I think it's pretty cool that we've got people who are willing to go out, work on a Christmas day, and we see all the progress on water, sewer, and streets every year that we try to stay ahead of the game. But the fact that there's still things from 1950 that are out there that lets us know that it is a process and a project that has to keep moving forward. So
Extremely important.
we appreciate that.
Yes, thank you and your staff for being out there on Christmas Day. And that pen does work for the bison. I have seen them.
It's very cool. It's really nice, really nice.
All right.
You jumped the fence, did you?
No, I die. Hayes happenings.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Melissa Dixon, Director at the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And these are just some things coming up in February that I want to be sure are on your calendar. The Chamber will host a legislative coffee February 4th at 8 a.m. at Hayes Public Library. And if you have burning questions for your legislators, this is your chance to ask them in person, and you can submit your questions ahead of time if you like. The Strand Event Center will once again host their wedding expo, and it was very exciting last year to see all the brides-to-be shopping downtown after they attended this expo. So I thank the Strand for that. The Fox Theater will have 3 shows in the month of February: Parmalee, which is rescheduled from December, Reed Southall Band, and Giovanni and the Hired Guns. And Night to Shine will return to Hayes at Celebration Community Church. This is a prom-style event for our individuals with developmental disability community, and I've heard they need an additional 200 or 300 volunteers. So if you would like to come out, I know they would welcome you, and we've got information at our office on how to get connected with them. Sternberg Museum always celebrates Darwin Day, usually with a free day. This year it happens to fall on a Monday, and the Sternberg Museum is closed on Mondays in the winter. So they're going to get around that with some special free programming from 3 to 6 p.m. And then I encourage you to take advantage of the Fort Hays State Encore Series. All of their performances are great. This one looks especially fun. The Peking Acrobats, featuring the Shanghai Circus. That'll be February 13th at Beach Schmidt Performing Arts Center. Sir Optimist of Hayes will have their annual fundraiser, Dueling Pianos, February 18th, Shank Building, Ellis County Fairgrounds. And the Hayes Symphony will present their Masterworks 2 concert, February 18th, also at Beach Schmidt Performing Arts Center. Acacia Wrestling will once again return to Hayes, February 24th and 25th, out at Gross Memorial. We look forward to our staff welcoming those coaches and administrators and all those teams. And then Hayes City Little Shootout will be the same weekend at Hayes Rec. Good times. Good times. Get ready. Thank you for sharing your restaurants and roundabouts with visitors. And then I usually include one thing that's coming up this weekend. Instead of this weekend, it's actually Monday. The Ellis County Historical Society has their annual meeting, and that's open to the public, so you're welcome to show up and see what's new with that group. And then bonus, you have the CVB Year in Review, which was put together by our new
Hung up on you.
Zoom limit. Time's up. Anyway, so some stats, some numbers that we're proud of. Just wanted to share those with you for our year in review. Any questions for the CVB?
A lot of good stats. You guys do a lot of hard work too. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. It's good stuff.
If anybody hasn't participated as a volunteer in that Night to Shine and you have the opportunity, it's one of the most inspirational times you will ever spend. So if you have the time that evening to do anything with them, please volunteer. It's a very special time. During the pandemic, it actually was a parade down Main Street. Remember
It's
before
still
they had
fun,
their-
yes.
That was really cool.
That's a cool picture.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
All right, Commissioner inquiries and comments. Elena, we will see you on the next one.
I have to go or something.
Okay. Commissioner Barrick.
I just sort of wanted to mention that, given all of our reports here, that a lot of times when there's times of disruption or hardship, most people want to, and cities in general, want to hunker down, weather the storm, and then try to pick up when things get better. But I'm not unique in this opinion, but when you have those sorts of hardships and disruption is always a time for innovation. And when you want to put money towards things and try to advance forward during those hardships, even if it doesn't seem like it's the appropriate time, it is the appropriate time because that puts you ahead of the game, and it puts you ahead of everybody else that's just trying to weather the storm. And I think it's one of the things that I appreciate about the people of Hayes and the people working at all the different organizations around Hayes is we had a pandemic, we've had issues with, people and being able to work jobs, but yet we're going forward aggressively. And I think that's really important to see. We've got the education, the school bond, we're getting the housing, and I'm sure that because of the way we're going, we'll be able to, deal with the child care and all of our other issues, and quality of life is still at a very high standard. And so I just appreciate the fact that, we don't hunker down. We actually lift our heads up, look out, and go forward.
Very well said.
I would agree.
Very well said. I just wanted to make one more comment about the housing in the Grove and things that are happening. I think when we are reminded of the economic impact of the senior community, I think the senior retirement community is going to be the addition is going to be pretty exciting. One thing I want us to focus on, though, and I've used this word about putting a gate on I-70. Doug talks a lot about our service area shrinking. Well, some of it is because we're losing population because they're passing away, but there's a lot of people that are leaving and going farther east or going farther west. I think it's really important that we have, the build it and they will come sometimes is a little aggressive, but I think it's absolutely true in this case. We may shrink from 80,000 or whatever that number is, but we may not, because some of those 80,000 will come right here to Hayes because of the things we're doing. So I hope everybody stays focused on how positive this is going to be. The retirement, there's lots of things going on, but the retirement community, the collaboration between the hospital and Grow Hayes and the city and the county, everybody that's involved in it speaks to exactly what Commissioner Barrick said. This is a can-do community, and we're going to get it done, and it's really exciting to hear about it. Thank you.
I would kind of going to piggyback off what both you said. Since I've been a commissioner, I've had to, even other commissioners tell me to kind of, back off because I'm like, we need to grow, we need more retail. But, I've learned you can't grow retail and stuff without housing. And, Doug, there's many things that you've done at first. I'm like, and then it happens. And I've also learned, we have people talk to us sometimes weekly that they're going to build something here in Hayes, and it never happens. And usually when Doug comes to us, it happens. And it's not only you, but it's your organization. And, we've been, you can prove to us how it's going to work. And I'm so excited for it. And, I know there's a lot of work to be done. And I hope you can prove me wrong. And I'm not trying to be wrong or right. I'm a little nervous about the project, but I think it will be huge for Hayes if it happens. And, and like with Jeff, the sewer and water line expansion, we know there's going to be development out there. And it's just all part of Hayes growing, and we're doing it for the future of Hayes, not just to maintain. So thank you all for everything you do. And Melissa, these numbers, we were just talking about the $43.1 million estimated economic impact of overnight guests. And as a business owner, I see it and feel it every day. So thank you for what you guys do. And and as other business owners, if millions of people that watch us every day, she sends out stuff. If you want your information, you want to be advertised, the CVB will advertise it for you, and and they appreciate what you do for not only downtown Hayes but the whole community of Hayes. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very. 2022 is a good year, and 2023 is going to be even better. I saw this on Facebook today, and I saved the photo because I was just like, it's too cool not to save.
It's too cool.
There's just so much. I don't know what I'm going to do with it in my photo roll, but it's going to be there.
I do it all the time.
But I mean, just the things like we did last year, the Kansas Mission of Mercy, the free dental clinic. Yeah, $673,748 in donated services that helped how many people? Hundreds of people. That place was full. It was incredible. I mean, yeah, and 75,000 visitors, guys, distributed. The impact Hayes has on the region is huge, and it's because of people like you guys and staff making it a beautiful place to be, and the people themselves just being awesome people. Hayes is great, and it's a privilege to be up here to serve with you guys, and we look forward to all the wonderful new progress we get in 2023 that Colin gets to present once a month. And no executive session? Then we will adjourn at 5:04.
Stuff.